I will say it has a cool little pattern to it because our graphs, look this up, because our graphs are U graphs like this. Wow, that actually wasn't terrible. I thought that was going to be a lot worse. Because our graphs are U graphs, notice they mimic each other on the sides, okay? And so there tends to be kind of some patterns. And that's what we want you to notice today is these patterns and how they help us identify some of these things, okay? So first off, the vertex. The vertex is always in the middle of this pattern. So I want you to look at the Y's right here and see if you notice a pattern, okay? So see if you notice a pattern here. The vertex is going to be in the middle of this pattern. Does anybody see a pattern on this? Matter of fact, I'll give a Jolly Rancher to anybody that sees this pattern. First person that sees the pattern. Coach is going to get a Jolly Rancher. So there's a pattern right here in these numbers. And the vertex is in the middle of this pattern. So if you look at these numbers, you kind of see a pattern. Does anybody see it? It does. So continue. So it is 0 to -3 to -4 to -3 to 0. Uh-huh. So what's what do y'all notice? Jolly Rancher right there. Okay. So here's the pattern. They repeat. You see the two -3s right here? And you see the two zeros here? So it goes 0, -3, -4, and then it starts going back down. That's that U part right there. Okay, so the vertex is when you see these numbers repeat, the vertex is in the middle. So right here's our vertex. So right here, you're going to write -1, -4. Okay, so that vertex is right in the middle of that. All right, so axis of symmetry. Now, I know we don't see a picture here, but axis of symmetry is always x equals, and then the x coordinate of our vertex. So we don't have to see a picture. What's the x coordinate of the vertex? -1. All right, now, the intercepts are always identified by the zeros. You're going to find every zero in this problem. So we got one here, and one here. So the intercepts are always identified by the zeros. Now, wherever the number's at, that's where the intercept is. So other than 0, so here's the number, -3. Is it under X or Y? So this -3, is it under the X's or the Y's? Yeah, is that under you? It's under the X's, right? So that's an X-intercept. So -3 is an X-intercept. Find your next zero right here. All right, so here's the number, -3. Is that under the X or the Y? The Y, so that's a Y-intercept. Y'all kind of see where we're going with that? And then we got one more zero, and it's a 1. Is it underneath the X's or the Y's? The X's, so that's an X-intercept. Does that kind of make sense? So you identify your zeros, okay? And then you look at the other number, and if it's under the X, it's an X-intercept. If it's under the Y, it's a Y-intercept, okay? All right, so, oh, go ahead. Okay, so that's all, I mean, that's all that is right there is just, we're gonna identify the vertex. The axis of symmetry is always gonna be X equals in the X coordinate, and then we identify our intercepts. All right, so see if you can identify. Now this pattern's a little bit tougher. It's not as clear, but you can, I think you can identify at least, like here I identified the two -3s. Can you identify two numbers that repeat, and the number in the middle is gonna be our vertex? Can you identify that? 1 is the vertex right here because we got the two zeros. Y'all see that? So these two zeros makes this our vertex right here. So our vertex is -4, 1. All right, so the axis of symmetry is always x equals, and then the x coordinate. So this x coordinate right here, -4. All right, so now we're gonna go identify all the zeros. So there's a 0 here, a 0 here, and a 0 there. All right, so I'm just gonna start at the top. My first 0, I've got -5. Is that an x-intercept or y-intercept? X-intercept, because it's under the x's. So -5. And right here, I've got a 0. I've got -3. Is that an x-intercept or y-intercept? The -3, it's an x-intercept. And then the last one right here, this 0, I've got -15. And -15 is underneath the y, so that's a y-intercept. Oh, that's my hand symbol. Sorry. Like, to me, I can't really draw like the, oh my gosh, that actually looks good. I can't believe I did that. That was a complete accident right there. You're right, it does. So yeah, I always just do those symbols right there for my hands. You can put a comma. Just make sure that if you put a comma, that you don't put parentheses, because it's not a point. It's saying that they're two separate ones. Okay, so right here, does anybody recognize the vertex? -9, because it's in between the two -8s. So -1, -9. All right, so my axis of symmetry is going to be x equals, and whatever the x coordinate is of that vertex. All right, so then the, now this one only has 2 zeros right here. Okay, so we're only going to identify 2 of these. There probably is another 0. Oh, I can find that 0 too if y'all want to see it. All right, so first off, we know we got a 0 here and we got -8. -8, is that an x-intercept or y-intercept? It's a y-intercept. So -8 is a y-intercept. We have 2, so here's another 0. We have 2, is that an x-intercept or y-intercept? X, so 2. Now, there is another one. I'm gonna show you how you can find it. Now, if you don't see what I'm doing, that's fine. But remember we said there was a pattern, right? So you see how the pattern repeats, right? So what's going to be above this -8? The -5, right? I'm going to put a -5 right there. And then what's going to be above that -5? The 0. This is actually going to be my other x-intercept. And then these are just going in order. So this would be -3 and this would be -4. So my other 0 is -4 and it's under the x's, or it's actually above the x's right now, but so that would be -4 would be my other one. So I just continued my pattern in order to find that. If that doesn't make any sense, don't worry about it. Okay, but I do want you to see that sometimes you can continue these patterns to find that. Okay. For the most part, we don't see a lot of tables where you've got to do this stuff. So you'll see this today. You might see it every once in a while, but for the most part, you just don't see a whole lot of tables. Probably the thing I want you to know the most is these zeros and how they identify your x-intercepts and y-intercepts. Okay. All right. So right here, do we see the vertex? Yeah, vertex would be that right there. So we got 4 and -4. Axis of symmetry is going to be x equals and -4. And then we're only going to worry about these 2 zeros right now. So my first 0, we have this 2, is that x-intercept or y-intercept? X-intercept, so 2. And then we've got a 6 that's underneath the x's, so that's an x-intercept as well. And for right now, we're just not going to worry about the y-intercept. All right, so over here, vertex. What's my vertex? Yeah, so we got the -1, -8. So that would make our axis of symmetry x equals and the x coordinate, -1. All right, then we're going to identify all of our zeros. So here are all my zeros right here. And so my first 0 is -3 and it's under the x's. So that's an x-intercept. And I got a 0 here with -6, and -6 is underneath the y's. So that's a y-intercept. And then we got the 0 and we got 1, and that's under the x's. So that's an x-intercept. So like I said, if I was going to pick something that was the most important thing today, I really think I want you to understand how the intercepts always deal with the zeros, and that the y-intercepts under the y, the x-intercepts are under the x's. All right, and then last one, my vertex is going to be 1 and -9. Axis of symmetry will always be x equals, and then the x coordinate 1. And then my zeros here. So I've got a -2, which is under the x, so that's an x-intercept. I've got a 0 here with -8, that's under the y, so that's a y-intercept. And then I've got a 4, which is an x, so that's an x-intercept. All right. So, like I said, that's kind of some new stuff. It's actually going to be this next step that's the most important to me today, because it's the stuff that we've really got to be good at. So, starting with number 7, I'm going to be walking around. We got to make sure we remember how to do these. What do we see here that tells me that this is important? This is easy. What do we see? Or actually, what don't we see? It's something missing. No equal sign. So when we see that there's no equal sign, we're going to type this into the calculator, and we'll talk about some stuff that maybe will make this a little bit easier. So I'm going to do this with y'all. If you do it with me, it makes it go quicker, but then I'm going to walk around and make sure y'all are doing this. All right, so we're going to go type this into the calculator right here. So go to graphs. So anytime we don't have an equal sign, we're going to graphs. We're going to type in 3x squared. So 3x squared minus 22x minus 16. All right, so we hit enter. You should get something that looks like this. So a couple of things here. I cannot tell where this is crossing. I don't know. That might cross at 8. I don't know. But here's what I do know for sure. I've got one of these on the negative side and one of these on the positive side. Okay. So if one of these is negative and one of these is positive, look at your answers. So it's definitely not going to be D. Both of those are positive. So I definitely know it's not going to be D. Now, I thought it was 8. So let's go back and look at this real quick. Let's see if we can jump to an answer here. I'm looking at my answers. All right. So I think that crosses at 8 right there. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, remember, if it's in parentheses, you do the opposite, right? So I think this is 8, but I'm going to want -8. So let's try C first. All right. So I want y'all to type that in and let's see if it changes the color. Okay. So type that in. Let's see if it changes the color. Oh, are you moving? Gotcha. Yes, hit tab and type in C. We're typing in C to see if it changes the color. And if it changes the color, so we're typing in C. It does. So, let me see if I can do it real quick. So I'm going to hit tab and we're typing in C. So parentheses, 3x plus 2. So 3x plus 2, close parentheses, x minus 8. It'll, as soon as it shuts off, it'll get hot. Yeah. All right. So it was blue. Yep. Switch to red. There you go. Very good. So we don't want to forget how to do those right there. Those are our easy ones. All right. So let's see. So the answer here was C. All right. So same thing here. There's still no equal sign, right? So we're going to type this into the calculator. Once again, I'll do it with you, but then I'm going to walk around, make sure you're doing it. So we do not use A. So when we type this in, we're going to use X. So we got 9x squared minus 25. Okay, so the only thing I know right now is I've got a positive answer and a negative answer. I really want y'all to see how this can make your life easier. I have one on the positive side, one on the negative side. So your answers have to have a positive and the negative. Guys, there's one answer that has a positive and a negative. Which one? It just has a minus. Which one has a plus and a minus? D. Does that make sense? So it has to have a plus and a minus. And so the only one, so let's try D. So I want y'all to type in D and see if D works. Now, in the end, if you don't understand what I'm saying, you can just start typing them all in. You know that'll work. But I want you to see how you can make your life a little bit easier. So just to make sure y'all understand what I'm talking about is where it touches the x-axis. It touches on the positive side and on the negative side. So that means one has to have a plus, one has to have a minus. So hit tab and type in D. Hit tab and type in D. Good. Tab, type in D. Okay, so hit tab and type in D. Because it can work. Yep, very good. So yeah, if that changes color, then we know that's our answer. All right. So y'all did it. I forgot to do it. All right. So we got 3x plus 5 and 3x minus 5. And yep, change colors. So the answer was D. So really want you all seeing how that can make your life a little bit easier, because we all would probably agree, even though this is easy, it can be a pain in the butt to type all these in sometimes. Okay. And so if you can find a way to eliminate stuff and make it easier, just makes it so much better. All right. Now, this last one it only has one factor. This is not going to match. This is the one we tend to struggle with. So let's go type this in real quick. So we're going to go type in x squared minus 5x minus 50. All right. It kind of looks like it touches here at 5. Let's see, -1, -2, -3, -4, -5. And it looks like it touches at 10 almost. So let's go see what we got here. I'm thinking a 5 and a 10. So maybe one of these two right here is what I would try. I wouldn't try that. If it crosses the x-axis, it is factorable. It touched the x-axis, so it definitely has factors. So let's try one of these two. So once again, type it in. How do we tell? I'm going to hit tab, x plus 10. How do I tell if that's the answer? How do I tell? Y'all remember? All right, does it cross one of the zeros? If it doesn't cross here, remember, this is also called a solution. So this x-intercept is also, this is a solution and that's a solution. That's not touching either of those, okay? That's not the answer, okay? So hit tab, go up. What was the other one? Was it x plus 5? Is that right? X plus 5 was the next one? Yeah. All right, so x plus 5. Okay, it touches one of these, have the same solution right here. Okay, so if they both touch the x-axis same point, that's my answer right there. So the answer would be C. So this is the one we tend to struggle with, and we want to make sure that we're understanding that. Okay, there are, I'm probably going to say, I want to say 3 or 4 of these right here on the STAR test. Now, that may not sound like a lot, but that's 3 or 4 questions. And when you think of all the other easy questions that are on there, 3 or 4 of these easy ones right here, that starts adding up. And this is why I say this should be one of the easiest STAR tests you've ever taken. Okay. Yeah, it may take a little bit of time to type that in. But when we start talking about all the different easy questions, they just add up. And then boom, you're passing the test because of the easy questions. Here's some more easy questions. Flip that page over. Y'all remember how to type that into the calculator? We did this the other day. So this is the square root. There's no letters. So when there's no letters, we go to regular calculator. Regular calculator right there. Not housetop, but the x squared. Housetop will give you, let me show you real quick. Housetop will give you 2 blanks. You see that? We only want 1. So I don't like this right here. So we hit Control X squared and it just gives us the 1. Does that make sense? All right, so we're typing this in. We got the square root of 8, square root of 8, and we get a decimal. So 2.8. And then we definitely know it's not going to be B. B is negative. So there's no way it can be B. You could already mark B off. And then we're going to type in 2 square roots of 4. Hit enter. Okay, nope, that's not it. 2 square roots of 6. What'd you get? D. Okay, 2 square roots of 2. Move that. So 2 square roots of 2. Yep, that's it right there. So those match. So the answer is D. All right, I want y'all to do 11 and 12. And let's see if you just want to make sure that we remember how to do them. Okay, so I did 11. All right, type these in. That's good. And then you're just typing in all your answers and seeing which one matches. Do not choose an answer that's negative. So on number 11, there's no way it can be B. Good. Very good. Yeah, I know. Oh, we did this one together.
Oh, we're doing this one.
Yeah. How you doing? Very good. Okay, so when you hit this, hit Control. I'm gonna back out of this for a second. Now you're gonna get the same answer, but I still want to make sure you hit the right button. Hit Control X squared, so not that button, but this button. And then 48. Now, on this one, it still gives you the same answer, but it would mess up later. Okay, now you're gonna type these in. So you'll hit 4, and then hit your Control X squared. There you go, and then 5. And then they don't match, so it's not A. You know it's not B because that's negative. So try those 2 and see which one matches. Very nice, very nice. So get that one done. Very good, very good. Yep. Very good, very good. So once again, it's all about these easy ones. Very nice. And you take care of these easy ones, and like I said, you're gonna do awesome on this STAR test. Yeah, I saw that. She was asking, she was like, we shut down on a certain day. And I'm like, I don't know what's going on. Cool. Oh, for me? So the actual STAR test, we don't take to the beginning of May, so about a month and a half away. But we will take a practice STAR test at some point. And I like the practice STAR test because y'all get to see that I'm not lying, that this will be a test that y'all can do really well on. But yeah, we'll take that at probably here in about a month or so, maybe 3 weeks, we'll take the practice STAR. So, did you get it? Yeah. 6.9, 6.9. So that's your answer. There. Does that make sense? There you go. See if you can do that one right there real quick.
So we're going.
I also tired last night. The kids there in bed, they had something, and it got delayed.
Oh, she told me, yeah.
And talked to her for a minute, I was on the couch, I woke up in the studio.
So I went.
Then I didn't go to bed. I didn't want to wake her up.
Oh yeah.
So I just went back, stayed on the couch, turned the sports and I watched it until like 4:30.
It started storming then, right?
And then the storm came in.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah, it was.
And then fell back to sleep. The alarm went off, wake the kids up to get on the bus. And I swear it was like 10 minutes. But it was that.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I was the first one in bed last night. And then when my wife and daughter came to bed, my daughter, I don't know why, if it was an accident or if she did it on purpose, but she like touched my toe. And it just scared the fire out of me. I was like, what the? And then I was like awake and I didn't sleep well the rest of the night. Now, did you ever type in the original?
I was in the middle of Eckerd's. I don't even know what Eckerd's is. It's like Walgreens or CVS. They used to be Eckerd's. And all these people just.
Oh, you still haven't typed in the original.
I started stealing stuff. And they were looking at me. And I was like,
oh, you put a 4 there. There's no 4.
And so then they stopped stealing stuff. They just started shopping.
There you go. So there's no 4 there. It's just square root 32. So hit in it. 5. So 4 squared to 2. So that would be that. All right. Yeah, that's random. All right. So right here, it says to solve. Technically, we're not doing solving till next week, but I thought it wouldn't hurt because we've actually talked about this before. Anytime there's an equals 0 is just like a equals y. So we're going to type this in, not the equals 0. We're going to type this into the calculator, and just a solution is where it touches the x-axis. So let's go type this in real quick. So technically, you'll see more of these next week. I don't know why I had this in so early, but we're going to type in x squared plus 9x plus 20. Hit enter. All right, so where's this touching the x-axis? First off, let's identify something simple. Are these both on the negative side or the positive? They're both on the, you can always look right here. You can see that negative 10 right there. They're both on the negative side. That means both of your answers should be negative. Which of your answers is both negative? Yep, see right there. So one of the things that I really want y'all to start taking advantage of, whenever they're talking about solutions, when they're talking about factors and stuff like that, is looking to see if one's positive, one's negative. They're both positive, they're both negative, because that can really make your life a little bit easier. Okay. All right. So now we're hitting some of the stuff that we've been reviewing. And I need to start seeing if you can actually do this. So I'm going to do less of this with y'all, and we're going to walk around and see if this is making sense. Okay, I'm going to guide you just a little bit, but I really need you to start trying to figure some stuff out. Actually, on this one, this should, like, you shouldn't even have to plug this into the calculator. Look at your answers. Does anybody know why you can just pick out the answer right now? I want y'all to look at this poster over here real quick. Sorry, Jordan, I'm gonna be in your way. All right. So first off, the key word right here is axis of symmetry, right? All right. So everybody looking over here, eyes on me real quick. Eyes on me, eyes on me, eyes on me. I want to make sure y'all see this real quick. Okay. Axis of symmetry. What does it say right here? Look at your answers. It has to be A. It's the only one that even makes sense. Okay. So if you know that it has to be an X equals, man, it can make your life easy on some of these. Okay. So for the rest of these, we're going to walk around. I want you to do 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. And then I'll come back on 22. If you can do 22, that's awesome. But you should go through these pretty quickly. Okay. So I want you, we'll help you just a little bit, but we're going to walk around and see how you're doing with this stuff. Okay. I will remind you, maximum and minimum is like saying who's taller or who's shorter. And you always measure to the side. Okay. So see if you can do that. So just really quick, I'm going to just kind of review this. And I know we didn't get not everybody got to everything, but this is like, if you're finding this easy, then this is good. If we're not finding it easy, we're going to keep working on it till it becomes easy. So minimum always goes to the side. Minimum, maximum always goes to the side. So right here's the side. It's 2. So the answer should have been D. Okay. Vertex is the very top. So vertex is the very top. Now, the important part to this is that you focus on the X coordinate first. The X coordinate is a 4, so the answer should have been A. All right. Now, I want to show y'all how y'all can eliminate some of these by using this right here. Okay. Vertex. Vertex has to be X and Y. I can eliminate right off the bat because vertex has to be X and Y, these two. Does that make sense? So this is where if you know vertex is X and Y or know what min and max are, how it makes your life easy. So we should have typed this into the calculator and gone to the very top of the very bottom. I believe this one had a very bottom and the answer was C. So you got to type that in the calculator, hit menu 5-1, and then move it down to the very bottom. All right, maximum. Maximum, once again, if I look at this poster, maximum is just the Y. What 2 answers could I mark off? If it's just the Y. All right, B has the entire point. D has an X equals. It can't be those 2. Does that make sense? And like I said, as you start kind of learning that, it makes your life easier. So you would type this into the calculator and go to the very top. And when you get to the very top, then I think it was a -4 was our maximum. All right. Axis of symmetry, right off the bat, axis of symmetry is an X equals equation. I can mark off B and D. Does that make sense? It had to be X equals. All right, axis of symmetry splits this in half. Draw a line splitting it in half. What number did we hit? 4. Answer was C. Okay, this is, what does that say there? Maximum. So maximum, we measure to the side. So you go to the side right here, and the answer is a +1. Hey. And then the last one, X and Y intercept. So X intercept is where it touches the X axis, -2. It's not going to be that one, or that one. And so it looks like the answer is A, and the Y intercept is 1. So the answer should have been A. So we really want to make sure that we're learning these key things. Notice how quickly we went through that. Okay, went through it really quick. So if you're struggling, we're going to get better, I promise. Don't get frustrated. We're going to practice, practice, practice.